market you're in, you're talking about the brand, you're talking about the streaming penetration. There's a lot of variables that kind of influence what you can and should be doing in your market to adopt an optimal strategy.
Welcome to the Strategy with Jason podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me in another episode of The Drive. We're in Newport Beach, California, with the one, the only, just wildly wise and smart and famous. Is that a good one, Brett? Did I do a good job? I had Brett Hall with me with EMG.
Yeah, man, well, I'll say from an expectation standing, viewpoint, I don't know if I
really
love
try,
that
I
intro.
really try to roll out the record.
I like to put it here, and then if I can get to there, I find that works better. But I'll take it.
All right, there we go.
I'll
take it.
I'll roll with it. Yeah, no problem.
Brett, thanks for taking the time to come and jam with me. And man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you having me out here. And the event the other day, if you missed it, sorry. No, I'm just kidding. I'm messing. But I'm sure you're probably going to be putting up some of the decks, and people are going to be able to download it. There's a lot of video content. You had some of the smartest and brightest, and actually some of the biggest companies in the world when it comes to OTT and streaming and visual content. Dude, what a roster, dude. Congrats, man. What a heck of an event.
No, thank you. It's our second year doing the Streaming Automotive Summit. Last year it was sort of the genesis of it was sort of a combination of having a conversation with my dad, and his bank had just done something, and then like a similar offsite. But then we also were just struggling to figure out how to do something at like a digital dealer or an NADA. And we said we live in a pretty cool place that people, I think, would want to come to and visit. And we have a few things to say, so let's try it. And now I think it's really kind of coming into shape on what we want to do with it after we just had our second year.
The timing.
The
timing's just so right for it. I know that little less than 5% of dealerships out there watching and listening right now are using OTT or some type of streaming solution within their marketing mix, and there's just a lot that I don't think everybody knows. It's just from attribution to the data that can be used. I know we're going to get into a bunch of this, but here's what I do want to do real quick, because I love kicking off these podcasts with a little origin story. Because I'm just fascinated. So Brett, how did you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
I'll do my best to focus in on the things that matter. But so right out of college, I was fortunate enough to get a job at Google, and that's what moved me down here to Newport Beach. They just opened their Irvine office. And I was, for the first 6 months, on their audio ads product, which was as a result of an acquisition they just made. And then about 6 months later, I was part of the automotive and entertainment pod, specifically for YouTube. So we'd also just acquired YouTube, and I was on this pod, and actually at the time, we were selling, the homepage of YouTube, and I was just an order taker for that. And so, we had a few car brands do that, and I did nothing more than just literally like write down on a calendar who was doing what at what time.
Sure, Ford, you want the homepage of YouTube.
And back then it was so new that it was basically what you did. You just bought the homepage. So, that was technically my first experience or jump in automotive, but honestly it was scratching the surface. I've always been in ad tech. I've always been, kind of in internet advertising. And so it's sort of unavoidable to work, with automotive marketers at any kind of various level. But really at EMG is when I've gone, all in and gotten into it deep. So
you got bit by the auto bug.
Got bit by the auto. Well, that's
bit by the streaming bug, and
I'll be totally honest. So my experience, I didn't know it at the time, was mostly tier 1 and tier 2. Whether it was through Google or a few other companies. And then at EMG, when we pivoted into streaming, we had one of our platform partners refer us to an agency partner, and they wanted to do some CTV, and so we got the referral, and it was for a few car dealerships, which we had never done. I'd never done, my partner had never done individual tier 3 advertising for car dealerships, and so we launched a few campaigns, and we launched a few more, and then based on a LinkedIn ad that I put out there for, hey, do you want to do CTV for your car dealership? We got a few more, and then maybe a year in, I looked at my partner. I said, there might be something to this automotive thing.
There could be something here. I don't know what it is yet, but I think we should explore more about it.
So that was about 6 years ago. And yeah, through a combination of just really good partners and a few serendipitous events, we've sort of grown into the space. Wow. And I love it. I know there's a lot of people that have been in it for a long time, and they're like, oh my gosh, auto. I like it a lot.
I like it because I think it's the people that I like. This is the one fun thing about the automotive industry is you get everybody from every walk of life.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I know people that are operating large multi-billion-dollar groups who never even finished high school. And I know guys that now own 60, 70 rooftops who started at a gas station. I know people like MBAs who sold weed in high school. There's just so many, and it's just fun, but it's all these cool, fun personalities, but like what you saw last night, the camaraderie, the kind of that brother sisterhood of automotive is it's a real thing.
I know everyone says every industry is small, and this one is really small though. I mean, you very fast realize, oh wow, these, it's.
Well, let's get a little bit into EMG real quick because I'm curious. So here's what I'm kind of thinking. Because I'm always curious, what was kind of that aha moment? And then what was okay, we can solve that problem by doing this.
Yeah.
How did that kind of EMG kind of come about with that?
Sure. So the company's 9 years old, but we've only been doing streaming for about 7 of it. Mm-hmm. So for the first 2 years, we were doing DR display advertising for direct response advertisers. Sure. And it's hard to even call them advertisers. They basically are just, it's basically like affiliate marketing, but using display in programmatic. They have offers. Yep. And, these are the things that you've seen that kind of occupy probably a lot of annoying ad space on websites. But we got really good at unpacking the programmatic market, everything from path to supply to audience modeling, all the things that my partner Brian talked about yesterday, but to really literally sell a, diet pill for whatever, a couple thousand orders a day. And we didn't get paid unless someone got out their credit card and paid. And so when we talk about, a business outcome that matters, for us, it was quite literally, it wasn't a click and it wasn't, some metric on a website. It was like, are you selling this thing? And it totally required a discipline to understand the entire supply chain. Otherwise, we were out of a job. And so we did that for 2 years. And a combination of just that it's a pretty volatile market and I didn't see a ton of growth there. And so we said, can we take what we've learned here and just point it into a different direction? And that direction ultimately was streaming. It was CTV, this was OTT. This was about late 17, early 2018. And we said, what if we started taking...
You pivoted before pivot was like a normal word? Okay, all right, I get it.
I mean, some people call it a pivot. Same business, just working with a different set of, and that ushered in kind of a new set of advertisers that we were really happy with, not just automotive. We're vertically agnostic at this point. And it was still an emerging and new, it still is, but it was a very nascent and new kind of ecosystem. And so we got a lot of quick demand or, kind of feedback on, I want to try this. I want to do this. And so we did that 7 years ago. And then really, like I said, we already kind of spoiled it. About a year into our journey with automotive is when I looked at him and I said, I think there's something to this automotive thing.
There's something there. Let's
put concerted resources into really, going after, as a customer base, building products out, really wrapping our service around the automotive industry.
Yeah, the automotive industry is fun, especially from a market perspective, because things move fast. Here's, I've run and operated an agency for many, many, many years, and some people don't just work. They don't last long. And a lot of it has to do with just how speed of everything is, all right? You can have a manufacturer literally come out with 15 incentives and then about maybe 7 days into it go, you know what? those actually kind of suck.
Yeah.
Let me change everything, so at least things are changing every 30 days. And that's very different than most verticals out there where it's like, you'll create a message and the message is probably good for at least a seasonality or something like that. But no. We will change it. If
every
not
single
monthly, possibly sometimes weekly, depending on your OE.
Multiple times a month, yeah, depending.
So like it is it's fun. I was drawn to it, from a marketer's perspective because of just how chaotic and just fun and just just the need of it, right? So let's get into. Actually, I want to get into your presentation yesterday, because so I'm a bit of a people person. I think most people who watch my podcast know I like to watch people.
I figured that out pretty early.
And I like to identify patterns, right? And there were a couple moments during kind of your presentation the other day that some body language significantly changed. So I want to go, I'm just curious for you, what were maybe kind of the 2 or 3 takeaways that you'd, love to share with everybody that obviously couldn't get to the event, but will be there next year.
Hey, let's go. Yeah, so the presentation referring to streaming metrics that matter. While streaming has gone mainstream, that was the theme of our conference, there's still a lot of confusion. There's still a lot of misunderstanding, not misinformation, just, it's like any new market. And so dealers have lots of questions, and, ad associations have lots of questions. And what we have sort of characterize this as they have a lot of questions, but they're asking the wrong questions because they just don't know what to ask. There's still that knowledge gap, which again is not new to streaming. That is just always going to be the case with a new medium. And so what we really wanted to do is sort of summarize and synthesize very succinctly in about a 15-minute presentation, what are the things that actually will impact, move the needle for you, move metal. What are they? How can you get there? What are things that we've learned, and then how you can also apply those into your buys? How
you can measure them. Yeah. I actually think I know we're going to get more into this, but the measurement aspect, I think, is what I find a lot of people are actually surprised by.
Sure.
But anyways, continue. Yeah.
So the foundation of going back to the DR days when we had to sell a diet pill or not get paid. We excuse me, little hoarse from yesterday's moderating. A lot of talking. We characterize what we do as an attribution-first strategy, and simply what that means is we relentlessly are investing and focusing on creating a technology stack that not only tracks business outcomes, and in this case for dealerships that's going to sound like sales and foot traffic and web engagement, but accurately do so. What we've learned is there's lots of different solutions that I'll call it, you can generate a number. I can give you back a number. But unless
you put this much into the machine, you get this much out.
But a lot of times it's either a vanity metric, or it actually didn't happen, or it's out of context. Yep. And so, what we always try to do is just corroborate what we're finding. And so we call it actually truth seeking. Are we actually, doing what we're intending to do? Are we getting the feedback loop that is giving us a good signal into kind of really the behavior we want to see? And so building on top of that is when we would then move to the kind of now very coined term, an audience-first strategy. So we start with an attribution set, and then we say, okay, how does that inform an audience model that we can build and be highly predictive with who's in market, who's not? And then how do we in turn take that audience and start buying really high quality inventory? What does that look and sound like? What is the best path to do so? Which, by the way, really in this space, go direct, meaning work with someone that
you got to find a partner.
You got to find a partner.
And I think, for a lot of people that are watching and listening to this right now, look, there's going to be a lot of takeaways kind of during this podcast, and I know we're going to be posting, some of the presentation and stuff like that as well up, so we encourage you to watch it. But, I think one of the key takeaways I took from this, and I'm just putting my dealer principal hat back on, right, is like, you need to find a partner, all right? You said something, and I love finding rabbit holes, so I like to go down them. You said something, but, audience first marketing, and it's funny because like the two of us, we're hip deep or chest deep in it all the time. So we've been talking about audience first marketing for a decade. Long time. But there's still so many agencies out there and so many, let's call them marketing partners out there that are not participating in an audience first strategy. And it's inefficient. I understand that over a decade ago, doing audience first wasn't necessarily available to everybody out there, but you look at some of these self-serve platforms and these other data partners out there. There's no excuse whatsoever to have a data-driven audience-first strategy.
Man, you actually, okay, so...
Sorry, I get on a soapbox sometimes.
I got to step back and realize I've been in the space for, call it almost 20 years, ever since I got out of college. And so, to me, what you just said is just, it's so true. It's like, why isn't everybody adopting this? I don't understand, and honestly, I don't even understand the downside of trying. But I think that actually is also been very surprising, because in a lot of cases, those who have adopted an audience-first strategy, they seem to think it's either not possible or not viable inside of streaming. And it totally is.
No, you're 100% right.
But I love the point you made. But even in other digital channels, I'm starting getting the sense, man, you actually aren't as audience-first as you could be, should be. I thought you were, and I don't understand why that would be.
And the cool thing about being audience first, it's audience first, creative second. If you're out there watching and listening right now, you're working with a marketing partner, they're not doing that, then I'm sorry, go find a new one. Right? I know, I'm being a little tough love.
Yeah. Yeah, I recently saw a presentation, and it was just a really good job of saying, in the context of streaming, but it's true of any digital advertising, you're flipping the paradigm of finding an audience through content versus you're actually just isolating the audience, and then where they happen to be consuming content, you find them. So the whole thing is flipped, and so, like I said, sometimes I have to step back because we have this conversation a lot in streaming, but I think it's actually happening a lot in other digital channels that became
I can guarantee you
before
it is.
Which was actually a pretty big surprise to me.
It definitely is. See, I like to fish. And that's actually a relatively new hobby for me. Okay. But, I just don't go throw a worm out there and just pray for the best. You know what I mean? I do my research. All right. It's what time of the year, where am I going? What's the water levels? What kind of fish are out there? What are some of the top baits and top lures that they're going after? I take my time before I go and spend, hours and hours just sitting staring at water and getting nothing, but to me, this is the same thing. This is the cool part about this, especially I think on the streaming side. People don't realize is that, you can target, you don't just have to target a device anymore. All right. You can target a household. Yes. I heard a stat recently, and I don't know how recent this stat was, but the average household has 9 connected devices in there, and look, to me, I don't know. I did go to school for marketing. I wanted to come up with the next bum. It didn't happen. I sold cars, and here I am. But it worked out. Marketing 101 was reach and frequency, right? It was who can I reach and what's the frequency I can reach them at? Yeah. And it's anyways, I'm going to have you jump into this because I think there's some great strategies, but we have such a monster opportunity right now, not just to target an individual, but to target a household across devices over multiple frequencies. Yeah. Look, I'm getting excited.
Preach it.
I'm getting excited.
I'm going to let you keep on going.
From a strategy perspective, look, I love kind of the space that you guys are in because you kind of see how all the other agencies are kind of executing on those strategies. I'd love to kind of pick your brain. What's some of the best you've seen as far as strategy approaches? Yeah.
So the best we've seen is when agencies, it's going to sound funny, when agencies, they sort of accept and take us as the market experts that we are. And so let me actually take a step back. What we intentionally have done with the company is decided to be very focused, have a very deep but very narrow expertise in something, which is streaming. Everything else is not for us. And so, all we do every single day is work in the streaming ecosystem for automotive retailers. It is all we do. And so we view ourselves, if marketing's a wheel, we are but one spoke on that wheel. Mm-hmm. And so when we work with an agency, we actually find the best success when, this is not to sound boastful, it's just they take our advice. They say, we have a lot of data. We say for this store, this is, probably what you should do from a marketing standpoint, from a geo-targeting standpoint, defined by radius. Here's how much addressable budget there is to effectuate the proper reach, the proper frequency. It really does come back down to that. It really we're not inventing anything new. It's everything you learned in college. It's just applying it in this ecosystem. That's the hard part. That's the hard part. It's like, what are the households that are in market?
Yes.
How many times should I be hitting them? And that answer is a little different for every dealership in the country. And because you're talking about what market you're in, you're talking about the brand, you're talking about the streaming penetration. There's a lot of variables that kind of influence what you can and should be doing in your market to adopt an optimal strategy. And then also the agency doing a good job of understanding where each client is and saying, okay, look, this is kind of what they're doing, thinking. And a lot of times actually that'll influence kind of how we think about things. We'll go off and test that. And the learning curve's a little, flatter now, but man, in the early days, it was rampant. It was not only because of the data we were collecting, but we had the benefit of working with all of these just amazing 20, 30-year vets in the space of the agency world who have seen it all. And they're like, well, this is how we think about things. And I'm like, I don't know any better. Let's go test that. And sometimes we would validate that. And other times it's like, actually, we just haven't found that to be true with the data, whatever the tactic or strategy is. And so what we like to say is a lot of our partners, they get to stand on like 7 years. They stand on the shoulders of 7 years worth of experience on day one, because everyone that came before us is now in some way, shape, or form part of the solution or solutions that we offer to partners to help with that strategy, to help with that individual dealership, to help with that ad association.
Well, and that's why choosing a marketing partner, it's almost like, I don't even really necessarily like the whole marketing agency, because I don't think the agency model is not necessarily what we're talking about here. It really does need to be a marketing partner. That marketing partner does need to be intimately knowledgeable about your dealership's goals and objectives across all of your departments. All right, so they can reverse engineer backwards to identify and build out an audience that's going to help meet those goals and objectives, and then work with their creative partners or creative team to actually then create a piece of creative that's going to speak and connect to them. Like, this isn't like...
There's a lot there. And the other thing, just to complicate it, gosh, how many different marketing channels are there now?
That's right.
And so
what's the mix?
From our perspective, it's like, you need 20 of us. You need the same guy, but for search, for social SEO, email, endemic, text messaging, SMS, like all of it, because they are all, you probably saw this, NADA publishes each year, as I'm sure you know better than I do, kind of marketing spend on average for each dealership, or on an average dealership, and then broken down by channel. And up until 2023, internet, or digital, I think it was internet, was just one slice of the pie. And it's obviously been getting bigger and bigger. 2022, I think it was like 60%. In 23, they divvied up the pie. They showed, okay, here's how much on average a dealership is spending in SEO. Well, because now it's so big. And so when you look at that pie and how it's been busted up, maybe 15 years ago, it made sense that you could have a digital partner, because there just wasn't as many channels, because there wasn't as many budget.
You need a team now.
Now it's it's obviously easily the biggest expenditure from an advertising standpoint that a dealership has.
And I know that might sound, like a lot if you're out there and listening. Oh my gosh, I need an entire team now. Yeah, but the funny thing is that when you do put together that team, the level of efficiencies that go into it, like, here's the bottom line: we can do a lot more with a lot less. All right, than 10 years ago, because of the audience, because of the data, because of the creative solutions, because of being able to target those connected devices and get into them. Like, I'm excited. This is a very exciting time, I think, for automotive marketing. I know, Brett, we're getting towards the tail end of our time today. I know we could easily jam for
what?
Like, I know, right? Goes this fast. Well, when you're having fun. But
let's take another loop.
Let's
man.
go for another loop.
We can do PCH. We got road. road.
But before I let you go, though, for everybody out there watching and listening right now who would love to connect with you and just learn more about you guys and EMG and just some of the services and the value that you bring, what's the best way to do so?
Yeah, not surprisingly, our website, evolutionmediagroup.com, there's about 5 different ways that you can connect with us there. And we will get right back to you immediately. We're on all, the social channels, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. That's where a lot of this content from the conference is going to be. And, we'd obviously love to have a conversation with whoever you are and wherever you are. We work with, marketing partners that have 3 people on staff, and then we work with companies that are the big OEM digital providers that have hundreds of people. So we're kind of everywhere in between. So,
well, Brett, this has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you taking the time to jam with me today.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks,
man.
buddy.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
For everybody out there watching and listening, we appreciate you. Thank you for taking the time to check this out, and make sure you check out EMG. You guys have a wonderful day.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to the Strategy with Jason podcast with your host, Jason Harris. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Happy podcast.